Have you ever heard of the Caterpillar 3208? Some called it a reliable workhorse. Others flat out dismissed it as a throwaway engine, not worth fixing. It showed up everywhere: Ford trucks, school buses, fishing boats, fire trucks, even on farms and construction sites. But behind all that popularity lies a mystery most people never noticed. Some insist it was a true cat engine. Others argue, no, that was a Ford motor. I saw it painted blue with no cat badge. So what was the Cat 3208? Really? A failed V8 that faded into obscurity? Or a silent powerhouse that quietly kept America moving for decades? Right now, we're diving deep into the untold story, the mechanical quirks, and the decades-long debate surrounding one of the most misunderstood diesel engines of the 20th century. If you ever rode a school bus in the 80s, chances are it had a Cat 3208 under the hood. If you watched a fire truck race down the street or passed a fishing boat docked at the marina, you may have heard the roar of this V8 engine without even realizing it. The Cat 3208 was everywhere. Ford used it in their medium-duty trucks. GMC did the same. Bluebird and Thomas put it in school buses. New Holland installed it in the TR70, TR85, and TR95 combines. Even Massey Ferguson and Oliver tractors ran on this engine. But why was it so widespread? The answer comes down to one word: timing. In the 1970s, gas engines were falling behind for heavy-duty work. The industry needed something stronger, more durable, and most importantly, something that could fit into existing chassis without a full redesign. The 3208 checked those boxes: compact, powerful enough, and easy to mass produce. It wasn't the best engine, but it was the right engine at the right time for a market that desperately needed diesel solutions. But to really understand why it was chosen so often and why others walked away from it, we need to take a closer look at how Cat built this machine. Beneath its compact frame and steady performance, the Cat 3208 hid a technical design full of contradictions. It was a 10.4-liter V8 diesel engine with dual-cylinder heads, a 5-inch stroke, and a power band optimized between 2,800 and 30,000 RPM, perfect for trucks and marine use, but lacking the low-end torque needed in agricultural settings. One of the most debated features was its parent bore block design, meaning the cylinders were cast directly into the engine block. This reduced weight and simplified manufacturing, but made rebuilds far more expensive, requiring block machining or complete replacement when cylinder walls wore down. Another distinctive element was its sleeve metering fuel injection system, which allowed for precise fuel control but was also more sensitive to contaminants and water in the fuel. Cooling capacity ranged from about 12.5 gallons on naturally aspirated models to 14.8 gallons on turbocharged ones, with oil capacity ranging from 3.2 to 4 gallons. The engine weighed between 1,600 and nearly 2,000 pounds, depending on configuration. Cat recommended oil changes every 250 hours, though many operators pushed that limit, and that's often when problems started. Altogether, these design choices made the 3208A temperamental engine. It could perform beautifully when understood and respected, but just as easily fail in the hands of an uninformed operator. Despite the controversy, there's no denying that the Cat 3208 had real advantages when used in the right setting. First, its compact design. Unlike traditional inline diesel engines, the V8 layout made the 3208 shorter and easier to fit in tight engine bays, perfect for boats and buses. Second, its power output, ranging from 180 to 250 horsepower in standard versions and up to 435 horsepower in turbocharged marine variants, was impressive given its size and weight. Applications like fire trucks, medium-duty trucks, and fishing boats benefited from its high revving nature, which allowed it to deliver consistent power over long periods without needing strong, low-end torque. But those very traits also revealed its flaws. The 3208 lacked low-end torque, a critical feature for tasks like plowing, towing, or climbing under heavy load. And when installed in agricultural equipment or overloaded trucks, cooling often became a serious issue. Many OEMs failed to design adequate cooling systems around the engine, leading to overheating, cracked heads, and premature cylinder wear. Additionally, key differences between naturally aspirated and turbocharged models, like the lack of oil cooling jets in the base version, meant some users unknowingly pushed the engine beyond its limits. In short, the 3208 wasn't weak, but it was highly sensitive to its environment. In the right role, it was a dependable workhorse. But when misapplied, it could become a costly headache, prone to failure if not treated with care. But does that mean the 3208 was beyond saving? Not quite. Over the years, both factory engineers and experienced mechanics worked to improve and overcome its flaws in ways most people never heard about. One of the most important changes came from the difference between the naturally aspirated and turbocharged versions. Turbocharged models weren't just more powerful. They came with oil cooling jets beneath the cylinders, which helped keep temperatures down and extended the engine's lifespan. The blocks in turbo models were also cast differently to handle higher stress, and the intake and exhaust systems were redesigned to support more airflow. For older 3208s that had worn out, some skilled machine shops developed custom dry sleeve insert techniques to rebuild damaged cylinder walls, an unofficial fix, but a lifeline for those unwilling to scrap the engine. Then there was the piston controversy. Early 3208s used two ring pistons, one compression ring and one oil control ring. This setup reduced friction and improved efficiency, but often led to blow-by and increased oil consumption as the engines aged. Later rebuild kits and upgraded models shifted to a three-ring piston design, greatly improving reliability. All of this shows that the 3208 wasn't as disposable as many claimed. It had flaws, yes, but also quiet improvements. And for those who understood it, how to run it, maintain it, and rebuild it, this V8 could still rack up well over 10,000 hours of dependable service without needing a major overhaul. Even with improvements and refinements, the CAT 3208 remains one of the most divisive engines in American diesel history. To some, it's a symbol of rugged simplicity. To others, it's a mechanical nightmare. So where does all the love and hate come from? In the fire service world, the 3208 was a quiet hero. Fire pumpers and rescue trucks across North America used it because of its ability to hold steady high RPMs, ideal for powering water pumps or charging through emergency runs. Mechanics appreciated its straightforward design, easy maintenance, and parts availability. In the medium-duty truck market, like Ford's L Series and GMC's work trucks, the 3208 had a loyal following. As long as drivers respected its limits, avoided overloading, and kept RPMs high, the engine often delivered hundreds of thousands of miles, some logging over 200,000 miles without major failures. But when abused, by lugging at low RPMs, overloading, or skipping basic maintenance, the engine quickly showed its weak points: overheating, blown head gaskets, and cylinder wear. At sea, however, it was a completely different story. Boats typically run at steady speeds and high RPMs, exactly what the 3208 was built for. With proper maintenance, marine versions often racked up 30,000 to even 40,000 hours of reliable service. And on the farm, that's where the love turned to frustration. The 3208's lack of low-end torque, tendency to overheat, and complicated rebuild process made it a poor match for agricultural work. For some, it was a trustworthy partner. For others, an expensive mistake. But there was one more layer that made the story even more tangled: the true identity of the 3208. Many swore up and down, "I saw it. It was a Ford engine, no question." Others pushed back just as strongly. "No way. I worked with Caterpillars. You can't mistake that sound." And it all started with a paint job and a strange name: Ford V636. The earliest 3208s installed in Ford trucks didn't wear Cat's signature yellow paint. Instead, they were painted Ford blue, labeled Ford V636 diesel, and had no visible Cat branding. Naturally, many assumed it was a Ford-built engine, but the truth was the result of a critical partnership between two industrial giants. In the 1970s, Ford desperately needed a diesel V8 for their medium-duty truck line. They had no platform ready and no time to develop one from scratch. Meanwhile, Caterpillar was working on a new V8 diesel, what would eventually become the 3208, but lacked a committed buyer to justify full-scale production. Ford stepped in and reportedly funded up to 90% of the development costs in exchange for early exclusive use. That's why the first engines were painted Ford blue, installed in Ford trucks, and carried the Ford V636 badge. But under the hood, they were 100% Caterpillar engineering. Once the exclusivity deal expired, Cat reclaimed the engine, painted it yellow, and released it under its own name, the Cat 3208. It soon found its way into GMC trucks, marine vessels, farm machinery, and more. But the memory of those blue-painted versions lingered and sparked years of debate. Some still call it a Ford engine. Others insist it was always a Cat. And in this rare case, both sides were right. The 3208 was the industrial love child of Ford and Caterpillar. But that was just the beginning of the controversy surrounding it. Because beyond brand names and technical origins, the real question is, did the 3208 truly deserve to be forgotten? Or was it simply misunderstood for decades? Technically speaking, the 3208 was far from perfect. It lacked low-end torque, critical in farming and heavy-hauling environments. It could overheat if installed incorrectly or paired with poor cooling systems. And its parent-bore design made rebuilds more expensive and complex. But at the same time, it had strengths worth recognizing. Its compact V8 layout made it ideal for tight engine bays in boats and buses. With power ranging from 180 to over 400 horsepower, it could handle a wide range of mid-duty applications. And most importantly, when installed correctly, run within its limits, and maintained properly, it could clock tens of thousands of hours without major service. Many marine-based 3208s exceeded 30,000 operational hours. That tells us one thing. The 3208 wasn't bad. It just wasn't for everyone. Those who hated it often misused it. Those who loved it understood it, and maybe, just maybe, what the 3208 really needs is a fairer legacy. So, we've just taken a deep dive into the complicated, emotional, and highly technical story of the Caterpillar 3208. An engine once called disposable, yet it powered fire trucks, fishing boats, and thousands of trucks across America. It wasn't perfect, it had flaws, but at the right time, for the right user, it was the answer. And maybe that's enough for it to be remembered. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever worked with a 3208? Did you hate it, or did you trust it more than any other engine? Drop your story in the comments, because your real-life experience is the most valuable part of videos like this. And if you enjoy digging into the history of engines, both legendary and forgotten, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. There are still many more machines out there, waiting to be redeemed. See you in the next video.